Rob Williams and Will Conrad combine The Great Escape and vampires as the desperate German army unearth an ancient evil and unleash it on a group of captured Allied soldiers in an old castle. Rob Williams, writer of 2000 AD and The Suicide Squad, dives into the world of World War II horror books with a new miniseries that combines Steve McQueen's classic The Great Escape with vampires and otherworldly monsters and the supernatural. This was a really great opening issue, seeing as that it was all about building the tension up. We barely see anything supernatural, but what we do see, from the strange writing in the coffin to the big cliffhanger ending, is just enough to spark your imagination and get things moving in your brain about what's happening and what's going on and what is all of this. Rob also introduces an eclectic cast of characters, all led by a Native American codebreaker, which is a really cool main character choice. I think that's really great, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with this character, because he's not in this first issue just fighting supernatural evils, but then even the people who would consider him allies are seeing him as a spy, and he has to fight against them, as well as the whole underlying racism that Native American soldiers endured during World War II. So I'm very much looking forward to Rob diving into all of that sort of stuff, and his past work makes me believe that he will. Will Conrad joins the book with just some really lovely yet horrifying artwork that really captures the futility and depressing nature of World War II and of POW camps, using muted browns and whites and greens to help sell this cold, desolate, mountainous environment. I love the change of colours as well in that final page though, where everything is just covered in bright red blood, and there is a warmer look to the book thanks to it. Out issue 1 was a great introduction to Rob Williams' World War II horror story, combining many elements of other pop culture icons like The Great Escape to deliver a tension-filled issue that doesn't disappoint or give away all of its secrets at once. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. Out issue 1 heads to 1944, where a group of POWs are forced to unearth a coffin at the frozen border of Czechoslovakia. One of the diggers sees the symbols on the coffin, asking the soldiers if they can leave now, but Commandant Luden orders them to all be killed, so his soldiers gun the men down, fill in the grave once more. Their blood fills the cracks in the coffin, as elsewhere, more POWs are transported along a treacherous mountainous road. One notices a prisoner who gets more legroom than all of the others, but another says that no one wants to sit next to a traitor. They all know him as the Native American named Nakona, and he was seen talking German to the guards at Stalag 11, thinking him to be a spy for them. Another prisoner named Bronson knows he's a Comanche code talker, knowing a team were brought over for D-Day to break the Nazi signals, and language is what they do. But he knows Hurrah and the others wouldn't know that, since they can't read or write, and their parents are both related. Hurrah knows he would fight Bronson if it wasn't for the precarious balance of the truck on the road. One of the truck's tires slips from the road suddenly as they tell the drivers to watch out. A prisoner priest begins panicking, getting up and shouting at the guards in an unknown language, but they tell him to sit down or they'll shoot him. The others think he's crazed and is shouting at them in German, and he too is a spy, but Nakona knows he's actually speaking Welsh and he's just scared. He talks with the man in his own language, and the priest is shocked the Native American speaks Welsh as well. Nakona learns that the man's name is Highwell Cook and he's part of the Royal Army Chaplains Department. Nakona reassures them that they are all okay, but the others know that not true at all. They ask what they are shouting about, as Nakona knows that he was scared as all, as the trucks arrive at Nujazolan Castle. As they are ferried into the walls, Nakona sees the coffin in the truck in front of him, as the others note that half of the German army is there. Nakona knows that whatever writing on that coffin is, it's a language, and he doesn't recognize it. The POWs are soon ordered into their new huts, as Hurrah thinks that their captors should look above. Above the camp, a squadron of B-17s fly high towards Berlin and Munich. Because of this, Hurrah knows that the death just isn't in the camp, it's above them as well. Nakona notices that the walls are covered in crosses and other religious symbols, finding that quite odd, as they are welcomed to their prison by the senior Allied officer of the camp, Lieutenant Colonel Hancock. He introduces Lieutenant McCallum and Sergeant Dill, who are both his second in commands. He wants to tell them something vital on their first day, finding it extremely good to meet them all. Commander Commander Luden, meanwhile, has had the coffin moved into the chapel, telling his unsure men that thing inside sleeps. His men tell him that the Americans have arrived in the Ardennes and are just hours away from them, and the Allies are about to take northern Italy, all while the Russians are in Budapest. As the officers talk about where their families are, Luden knows that they have no choice but to stay, asking if the precautions are all in place, reassured that the electricity behind the religious symbols around the place will turn the being's field on. The priest is told to begin his ceremony as an officer asks about the prisoners and what they should tell them once it begins, but Luden doesn't care. In the barracks, the prisoners all get settled in when Cook asks Nakona if he believes in God. The man says he just believes in right and wrong, so Cook says he only asks since God used to always talk to him, but now he thinks he's gone away. Hancock rounds the men up, knowing all of them are nothing without duty, and if they are there, it's because they all try to escape another camp, and the Nazis think this castle to be escape-proof. They are wrong. Dills says that he's tunneled out of 3 camps so far, and the last time he got almost to the Swiss border, but next time he's going to make it the whole way, and they all will. Hancock knows that Dill is their ace in the hole since he's a civil engineer and tunnels are his speciality. McCallum meets with Nakona, hoping that the man doesn't mind him staring since he's never seen someone like a Native American before. Ian apologizes since Nakona is now bunked on something important, revealing that under Nakona's cot is the tunnel they have been digging. Anala screams that Nakona shouldn't have been shown that since he's a spy, punching Nakona in the face and calling him a traitor. Ian restrains the man as Nakona leaves the barracks for some air. Outside, Nakona sees something move through the shadows, calling out to it to see if anyone is there. He hears someone say the Czech word for hungry as Dills comes to see him, knowing that it can get intense in the huts since everyone has been locked away for a while and it can feel like claustrophobia. Nakona says that he didn't know that Dills spoke Czech, but the sergeant doesn't know what he means as suddenly the man is grabbed by a giant vampire monster, his neck ripped open in front of Nakona as the being speaks to the codebreaker in Czech again, saying that they are hungry.